County School Board meeting to order. So we'd like to have a moment of silence and pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Board, 1.02.
I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Dr. Wells, we have an agenda. Turn your mic on.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, for first tonight, we have a special presentation. We have our lead SRO, Sergeant Mitchell Harrison, here from the Amherst County Sheriff's Office, and he's going to give a presentation to you, talk to you a little bit about a canine that will be joining the force. And so I'll turn it over to Officer Harrison.
I know, so I've been asking. Is he in the car?
He's coming.
He's coming.
Nobody wants to see him. Everybody looking for the dog.
I just want the dog.
I just want to introduce myself and say a couple things. I'm the lead SRO sergeant. I've been with Amherst County. There it is.
There you go.
There you go. It's better.
I'm the lead SRO for the Amherst County Public Schools. I'm sergeant with the Sheriff's Office. Been here for 2 years. Almost 2 years, not quite. But anyway, through Dr. Wells and the Sheriff Ayers, we had some conversations about implementing, putting in a canine into the school system. And we reached out to a company called Canine Working Dogs International. Little background on me, I've handled dogs professionally before in the police work. So I had an interest, something true to my heart, and we felt like it was a big need for it. I contacted this company because they had something unique that I'd never seen before working with dogs, is they had dogs that specialized in SRO work, not just dogs for SRO officers, but did SRO work. What that means is, and I had to learn this, but he'll detect 13 odors. So what his odors are narcotics, all the illegal narcotics. I'll spell those out, but some of them are the same. They just have different derivatives. So some people say, well, cocaine is crack cocaine. It's the same ingredients in it, but as they imprinted them, they exposed them to both substances. So like they did methamphetamines and crystal methamphetamines, even though the substances are similar, they're made differently, but they still have the same stuff in them. But he was exposed to both of those. Heroin, black tar heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, PCP, fentanyl, MDMA, which is ecstasy, psilocybin mushrooms, and we also added vapes, marijuana, and gunpowder. So he'll be able to detect vapes, guns, and all the other narcotic odors inside of our school system here. So we thought it was an interesting addition to our tools that we can use. And what the dog will do is give the administration in the schools, reasonable suspicion to see if there's one of these illegal substances there. I'll bring him in just a second, but his name's Drax. He's almost 2 years old. He'll be 2 years old in August. He's a yellow lab. The company bred him himself. He is super social. He is very friendly. He's not aggressive at all. My 12-year-old daughter lets him out of the pen and feeds him pretty much daily. She gets mad if I do it. My wife will play with him. He's a very, very good dog. I do want to just bring the money part of it up because I think it's super important that there's not been a lot of county money that's went into this. This dog actually cost $23,691.21. So that was the dog and the training, me going to training, and then a finished product with the certification when we left. I applied for 2 grants with the K9 LEAP grant, which gave us $4,250, an AKC Reunite grant, which gave us $7,500. That left us a balance of $11,941.21. And I'm pleased to say that the opioid abatement task force that the county has with the opioid relief money stepped in 100% and said, we will pay absolutely all of that out of this opioid money. So, there's no school funds and the sheriff's office has, funds tied up in it, of course, with kennels and stuff at my house. And he'll live with me. We'll bring him to work every day. And he may not work every day. He'll be there, but he may not. We may not utilize him every single day we're in the school, but, on occasions when the administration wants to. And I'll jump around to the other school. I'm stationed at the high school, but, I'll move around, of course, to the middle schools. And then if we see any problems or anything developing out of the elementary schools, we'll go there and do some scans and some runs. So before I get him, I just want to explain, I have a backpack laying right here in front of me that has some vapes in it, just a couple different brands of nicotine vapes. Over there in the chair, there's a jacket. In that jacket, I have a shotgun shell and some marijuana residue. Excuse me. I'll bring him in. He goes into work mode pretty quick. He'll start using his nose and looking on his own. I'll leave him on leash. I can work him on leash or off leash. He is super obedient. Like I said, everybody's running to him, loves him. His personality is great. I set up a book bag and a jacket, because that'll be a lot of the things that we're searching in the classrooms and stuff, just so you guys can see it. His reward, and you'll see me give it to him, when he finds that his indication is he'll lay down, he may sit, he'll have a change of behavior, he'll try his hardest to get to the source of the odor. He moved a license plate the other day in training, with his paw to get exactly to the little box that was hidden with the narcotic on it. Then what he does is, you'll see some dogs, if you watch YouTube or something, or if you've seen police dogs work, some of them will sit. The training I went to, and I had to learn this, my other dog sit and I liked it because he said it's 100% sit, there's no question. We trained him a little different. He goes to source and he'll put his nose or his paw right on the source and then he'll just stay there. And his breathing will change, his body language will change. He won't move until he gets his little ball. So I'll pull his ball out and give it to him, reward him, play with him for a second. And then this is pretty close. So,
What's the breed?
he's a lab, yellow lab. We'll reward him. He thinks it's a game. Like I said, I think he'll be instrumental at the high school. I'm hoping he's going to be a deterrent for, most of these things inside the school. We'd already, shipped one box of vapes, I think, to a university for some studies or something, but at the end of the year, I still collected about right at 200. So I think it was in the 170 range that the nicotine vapes that we had put together. And of course, I'm gonna keep those now for training. But just because there's so many different varieties and so many different odors and things of that nature. But do you all have any questions for me or any concerns or anything I can answer for you? But I'd like to bring him in just to introduce him to you guys.
Well, I do have a question. So you said he won't necessarily be working every day. What's the difference in him being there working and being there not working? Will
What
he
I'm
be
saying
at the
is
school?
Yes, he'll be at the school every day.
Okay,
So if he's needed, he'll be there.
okay.
But where I was going with that was we may not lock down a room every day, have the students come out and run a class every single day. We
Gotcha.
may,
Gotcha.
just the circumstances and, we want to introduce him slowly too. So, the first week of
Yeah.
school, we probably won't run him just to
Yeah.
give everybody a chance to say, hey, there's something that's a deterrent here now. And I've talked to Mr. Crawford at the high school, and when he does his introductions for each grade level and stuff for the classes, we're going to be present and have a similar discussion. May not have a demonstration, but we'll have a similar discussion. Just to let
Great.
them know what he does and what he's going to do.
Awesome.
And one more question
else
for
for
me.
him?
The dog, will it be muzzled?
No,
It will not be muzzled.
will not be muzzled.
So my concern with that is some dogs get a little sketch when a bunch of kids come up and the first thing they do is want to pet the dog. And how do we protect our students?
I apologize. I should have went more into that. Part of the SRO dog that this company does is super socialized in environments, in with people. He's not your normal police dog, and I think you'll see that when you see him. He is. Labs have been used for police work for years and years and years, but his social level is just, he's just a happy dog. I've already had him at preschools with little ones up on him and absolutely nothing. You know, he's not going to free roam the school. He'll be with me.
Right.
He'll be with me at all times. He may not go out, you know, at every class change, and you know, it's just going to depend on the, you know, as we're settling in with him, what works and what doesn't work. But he won't be muzzled. He's super gentle. I mean, the young ladies here, when I bring him in, can get all over him. Like I said, I have exposed him, but that was something else that I really liked about this company was that how they socialized the dogs. Before they said, this is an SRO dog, this isn't an SRO dog. And they do that, you know, they'll pick them. There was a guy in class that had a dog, wasn't an SRO dog, was a patrol dog, and during the course of the 120 hours we were there, they said, that's not the right dog for you, and, you know, that's not gonna work, and the instructors recognized it and pulled the dog from him. And that was one of my requests when I got him was, you know, I don't want a dog that's gonna bite. I don't want a dog that, he is an animal. There is that fear there, but I think everybody here's seen good dogs and bad dogs. And
Yes, absolutely.
my daughter hand feeds him. You know, like I said, he's been around hundreds of people before. Prior to me seeing it, I've had him at a preschool. They actually wanted me to, because I had prior experience, they wanted me to pick him up a week prior,
Right.
before we started school, just to kind of bond before we went to school. And I went and did that. During that week, I'd had him like 2 days, and we're in the, I forget the name of it. It's a preschool over on 29. And I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the preschool, but we went in, there was probably 40 or 50 kids. And there were wee little kids, and there were 5, 6-year-olds. So, and they all rushed him. There's pictures. I can't think of the name of the school, but I apologize. I've had a lot of training in the last couple of weeks. But he's very social, played with the kids. When kids come in groups like that too, I'm not just going to let him out on the end of the leash to hang with them.
Yeah, I'm sure you have control
I'll kneel
of him.
down with him, and I'll be there with him.
My concern is parents' fear.
Sure.
That's where my concern lies, you know, and I'm sure
My
he's a great
prior
dog.
police dog that I had, I tried to introduce him to people, and I would kneel down with him and hold him, and I could feel him growling. He wasn't necessarily doing it outside, but we stopped that and put him up. And
So you carry your weapon, magazines. How does he not get
And his
distracted
toy.
by yours? Because
and his toys. And his toy, because he knows that if it's on me, it's off limits. And he's smart enough to know that. So,
But-
I mean, I can put the ball out here, and when he comes in, he'll run to the ball. I put the ball in my pocket, and he's going to leave it alone.
Gotcha. All right.
Just he kind of learns from behavior that, hey, if Dad's got it, I'm good, and we're off limits.
Okay, yeah, yes, ma'am.
Quick question. As far as false identifications, what's the success rate as far as, I can anticipate a concern might be, I don't want my kid being searched because a dog sniffed something, you know, and there was nothing there. So what kind of success do we
So the
have?
dogs are trained on odor, and even during the school year this year, we've brought people into the office and said, you smell like marijuana, and not found anything, but sent them home because they smelled like they had maybe smoked it in a car, or somebody had smoked it in the car on the way to work. So he will indicate on the odors if there's odor there. Then it becomes my job to figure out, okay, so there's nothing there, but could there have been something there? You know, I was very successful with my previous dog with talking to people. I have a gift of gab, and I could sit down and talk to people. Even if I didn't find anything on the car and I had a positive ID, I had him for 5 years, and I could count on the number of times on one hand that when he alerted, I may not have found drugs, but the person said, we smoked marijuana in there last night. You know, my buddy was in there last night, and, you know, you look at your buddy's criminal history, and, you know, he's got 15 charges of methamphetamines or something, you know. I actually got gigged with my other dog in the initial certification that I had. And we run a room. So we run blank rooms and we run loaded rooms. One of the blank rooms that I run, I call dope in it. And I said, there's dope in that window seal. And the instructor said, no, you're wrong, run it again. I run it again, he alerted in the same spot, showed a change of behavior, alerted. 2 instructors got together and they got to talk and they're like, we have a blank in this room. And the other instructor said, it's not fair, the blank room. We had drugs in that window seal last night. They still put an X in that column because that was their blank room, but my dog wasn't wrong. So it'll just become a conversation that has to be had that says, you know.
And if you don't mind, in the past, when we've run canines in the buildings before, they'll alert, and we still search the student, and sometimes, you know, most of the time, they don't have it on them, but the smell was still there, right? We don't run students, we run their bags and stuff, we don't run students, but we'll bring the student in to search, and there's nothing there. And if that's the case, we call the parents and say, hey, the dog alerted, we searched, don't know what it was, but just so you understand, you know, this happened. So that's how we've done it in the past as far as when we don't find things.
Well, I am totally pro,
Yeah.
you know, having a dog in this capacity. I'm pro dog anyways. I think it's good for kids.
So when,
It's going to be good for the kids also.
It is.
It's not.
It's very
It's not
good.
just going to be a work tool every day.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not just going to be. He's not going to be the bad guy in the.
Yeah, no.
so I have a vape pen in my pocket. Let's see how he does.
So when we certify on like items. So like book bags, boxes, mail boxes.
But
stuff
we
like
are going to be running them on students, right?
We're not going to run him on students.
No.
We're not going to run him on individuals.
Yeah, we
We're gonna
have,
run him on-
there's legal cases that our attorneys in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office have both said they would prefer us not to run them on kids due to you being liable for lawsuits, but we will run on belongings.
There we go.
Yeah.
So there are actually vapes in this bag here. I mean, I can show
Okay.
you, but we'll.
So you're saying that if he walked in and Mr. Rossi has something, he wouldn't check on him because it's on a person?
So what we would do is develop articulable suspicion, reasonable articulable suspicion. If my dog shows interest, let's say we're in the hallway and just hanging out and you walk up and you're a student and you know, we know that out of the 13 things that I said, you can't have those at school. The dog may not give a positive alert, but he may, what he may do is show interest.
Gotcha.
So then what I would do is relay that interest to the administration at the school, and then maybe what we would do is go to the classroom, then go to the classroom, secure the classroom, bring the students outside like we do with Department of Corrections, and then run the bags and the belongings and go from there. It's very likely that if you were standing up here and he come by you and smelled your pocket, he may give an indication and not just a change of behavior. We didn't train
Take off running,
specifically on
Eric. See
people.
if
He's not gonna chase you. He's not that kind of dog. So, anybody have any other questions or concerns or?
Oh, thank you.
And
Anything else, board?
let me grab him.
Thank
Well,
you,
once you
sir.
go get him, and like I said, the purpose of this is not necessarily to catch kids, it's more of just, is really to be a deterrent, so they don't
Right.
bring it to school. So we will start with the high school team, you know, on day one, when they start having student introductions and stuff like that into the school, introducing it so they know that he's there and it's possible. And, you know, when I was an assistant principal, we had a canine at the high school, and I was an assistant principal, and it served as a very good deterrent. Tina, she was a very good dog. Danny Goins was the lieutenant in the sheriff's office who was her handler, but it was a deterrent for kids. So even if they were thinking about it, they knew that dog was there. And so that's kind of where our goal is not to really necessarily catch everybody, is so they don't bring it to school, so don't have to catch them. That's our main goal.
Right, right, deterrent. Now, will the dog be utilized in parking lots?
Can be, yes. So we need to run cars of, we won't say run a particular car because that's targeting out and the handler
Correct.
knows. But if we want to run 15 cars in the parking lot that are in a section and let the dog run them, if they alert, they alert. And if they do, we'll deal with it. So there'll be the options, and they can do that at the high school if they choose. I would recommend it every now and then just so people see the dog in the parking lot.
Correct.
And then they'll cut down some of the other stuff we have going on too, so.
How are we advertising, I guess, this to all of our students and parents?
So will be some letters going out stating that the K-9 is with the sheriff's office and with their SROs, and it's accessible. And then students on day one, when they do the student at the high school, especially, so that's where he'll be housed. They'll meeting when they do the discipline discussions and behavior discussions on the stage.
Hopefully, it gets to the parents who do like to partake in what is illegal for our students to be using, and they realize that if it's smelled on their student, that it's an indication.
Right.
Got an itch.
Everybody's got a scratch every now and then.
Not a very good first impression there, buddy.
On you.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I can't wait to see that. Yeah. Where's the food?
All right, so what I'll do is I'll switch him over. This collar, it's just a pinch collar. It's nothing harming him. When he knows it's on, there's a lot better leash control. If he's around students, that's what I'll do. But when we go into a search mode, I'll switch him to just a flat dead ring collar. Check. He's actually an odor. He got an odor over here. He's an odor over there. He'll stay right there with it. Good boy! Good boy! Now, he just thinks it's a game, so he just wants to play tug, and he'll growl at me, but it's just tug. But then the control of him too is out, Drax out, sit, Drax sit, sit. Free.
Don't get him in trouble.
His level of obedience is amazing. He's the best dog I've ever had. He just wants to play. Drax.
Yeah. I've got golden retrievers.
Out. And he's looking for it, but we'll put it up and I'll come to that side and we'll run that. He'll want to go back there, so.
Yeah, that's right. I know it's there.
Yeah.
Look, over here. I can
What's
fall
low-hanging
faster.
fruit?
He's played that trick before.
Trash can smells better.
Boy. So he had a change of behavior there. He circled here. He closed his mouth. So when he closes his mouth, starts sucking wind through his nose a lot harder. I know it's more, but okay, we need to check that area a little bit better. As you see, he come over here and afraid the backpack. Not dumb dog. He's in the backpack. Check this.
Checking out Gary, I don't know.
That's Drax. Any questions?
I think he's awesome.
We can come back for demos or.
I think you need to come monthly.
Yeah, that's right.
He should be familiar
Therapy
with each
dog.
board
That's right.
member. Yeah.
I told Mitchell if he needed to be adopted,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Better get the ball out. Shut him up. Oh, he's wrapped around your chair. Say hi.
Like, where'd my dad go?
Yeah.
I did. I'm taking it personally.
Couple different brands of these, so he's not smelling just the odor. And then, there's So that's literally just a napkin that has been in a jar of marijuana. And then, it's summertime, he's shedding, sorry. And then a little jar that's just got some primers in it and the empty shotgun shells, not even anything in it, it's just the residue that's inside the shotgun shell. And I put those together. A couple reasons. One is I don't want him to look stupid. And there's some strong odors, and when you're doing a demonstration, you don't set your demonstration up to fail, right?
Right.
But those, I'll cross a lot of the odors. Come here. Because, a lot of times they'll carry marijuana and a gun. So he can actually differentiate between the two also, but I just put those two together because they were.
Okay.
I'll be happy to come back and just
Right.
tell Dr. Wells, send the invite.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening. That's awesome. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right.
All right, moving on. We're at 2.01, now we're 3.01.
3.01, Mr. Chair, members of the board, you have with you, in front of you and on board docs, Policy Memo A and Policy Memo B. These were policies that were pulled in the May meeting. I had to get my months straight. And then the policy committee met in June to discuss. And so Policy Memo A are 6 policies that the committee opted to keep as is and not make changes to. Policy Memo B are 3 policies that they made changes, recommended changes to the proposed policy or the existing ACPS policy. So it's 6 in Policy Memo A, and there's 3 in Policy Memo B. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Thompson and Ms. Justice as they were on the committee if they have any comments to make.
Well, I'd just like to make the comment that this was our first time meeting, and I think the consensus was that it was a productive meeting. It was easy to talk about them, bring things to the table. At one point, we had a question, and I'm just going to give a shout out to Mrs. McNerney. She's over there researching on the computer, and as we're sitting here debating things back and forth, she just turns it around, and there was the answer that we needed. So it was a great team. The majority of the policies, once we talked about them, we were recommending, as you see in Policy Memo A, to just go with the recommendations of the superintendent that was presented to us in May with no changes. And then if you see the one labeled Policy Memo B, they have given you the original policy, the VSBA policy, and then what we have recommended as a committee between the board and the administration. And just briefly, for Policy Memo B, BCF, let's see. we were recommending that we keep the last line of the first paragraph, which VSBA chose to strike. And theirs, these committees shall serve without compensation for one-year terms. We just felt like in Amherst, that's been our history. So we didn't feel like we wanted to open up that door for compensation. And then Dr. Wells brought to our attention that the bottom of the policy, the Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Communities and the Safe School Committee, one of them, you'll have to remind me which one, Dr. Wells, I think the Safe and Drug-Free Schools is no longer a viable committee because the funds aren't coming in for that. So he recommended that we collapse those two and make that into one. And then just for those that's, if there's any board member that says, well, what would we do if we had an extra committee, or if we wanted to take one off, then we would just address that by adjusting policy. That,
Yeah, and these are just committees that the board felt were needed, and then, but we also have other committees that aren't in policy, we can still hold those other committees. This doesn't keep us from having other committees, but these are the ones that the board has historically said that we need to have. Now, again, the Safe and Drug-Free Schools, that was required, and that was 1994, and that's kind of gone away now. So, anyway, that's.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think what was being accomplished by that committee is still being accomplished in the Safe School Committee, so it was a little bit redundant.
Right.
and then if you go to the next policy, we had a recommendation on FEA. Dr. Wells helped us. There was a policy that was being eliminated, and it had to do with energy efficiency in construction. And so we had the conversation that we had some concerns that projects could be brought to future boards and not have to even consider energy efficiency. And so Dr. Wells pulled FEA and added the line on their consideration of energy efficient options. And that way, whatever superintendent, whatever board you have, will have that conversation when there's new construction or renovations being done. So that, you're not coming in with just the cheapest, you're talking about what you want, so that energy efficiency does not go out the window. So we would have to add cross-references, update that according to VSBA's, just referencing at the bottom.
FEA will come up in the proposed later on under, I think it's item 5 or 6. So we'll make a motion there to pull FEA from that if you opt to approve this FEA because they contradict each other. But the cross-references from that FEA, we would just put into our current, if you adopt this one, we would just take those cross-references and add those to this.
And then the last one that we would like to bring a change to you on and recommend is GCBEA, which has to do with if an employee during their first year of working with Amherst County has a debilitating or life-threatening illness. Staff recommended that in the second paragraph that instead of just requiring a full day leave being taken, that it would be nice to change that to a half day. They gave an example, if someone was having chemo, they may just take off a half a day rather than a whole day. So that just gave the employee more flexibility, I believe. And then in the third paragraph, we wanted to suggest that we strike whenever possible documentation must be provided prior to leave being taken. We felt that it was important for that documentation to come, but not necessarily dictating when that had to come, just leaving that sort of open-ended. And then there was a legal reference that was adjusted. And then there was just wanting to clarify to someone who read the policy of why this was in there for someone in their first year of employment. And so they've added the fourth paragraph down, which just describes after your first year of employment, then you are eligible for FMLA. And the previous policy didn't specify that. So we were saying, well, why is that not available to everybody? So it was just for clarification purposes. So between, I think, staff and us, if you have questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
With, as far as the documentation, one of the things that was brought up was just that if you have someone who's had a life-threatening event happen, we're not gonna sit there, the practice isn't, oh, well, we gotta get the documentation before this person can leave. That person's gonna leave. They have to go to the ER, they have to go by transport. And so, it didn't make any sense to the committee to keep that in.
So,
Mr. Chairman, actually, I have a question on that. So to me, it actually reads more difficult for the employee, the way it's written now, because now it just says that medical documentation is required for the leave, whereas before it said it's required, and if possible, it needed to be before it's approved, but not required. Now if you take that out, then it could be misread in the future, because it doesn't say it's when it's required. This at least leaves it, the old way leaves it so that it's not
yeah.
necessarily required before the leave is given.
What about if, employees must submit medical documentation of their need to leave as available? Would that clear it up?
But I mean, that's pretty much what it said before, because it says whenever possible, provide it before the leave is taken.
It said must be though, but if you took out the must be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we take out the must be, whenever possible documentation
should.
should be
you
provided
wanted
prior
that
to
in there.
leave being taken.
But we also struck approval must be obtained prior to leave being taken too, because that was another line in there we didn't feel was,
Yeah, I agree with taking that one out. Yeah, absolutely. I just think it muddies it a little bit when you take that second part of that clause out.
So is the suggestion to leave in whenever possible, documentation should be provided?
I think that's what was said. We can.
That's what I would
Okay, thank you.
like to see, yes.
Yeah, I kind of, had looked at that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
And, from an HR standpoint and from a staffing standpoint, I'm yelling. From an HR standpoint and from a staffing standpoint, as soon as a person, whenever possible, that's a good thing right there.
Yeah.
Is if I'm not going to be here for the next 6 months, the sooner that the HR and the school system knows that, you can start some things to happen. But I agree, now if it's life-threatening and it's emergency-based, then that's why the whenever possible comes in. I'm not going to be redundant, but I think we need to know as soon as possible if you're going to be gone for 6 months.
Correct.
Okay.
So
All right.
on this one,
So-
again, we make the change must to should, and then the rest of you're comfortable with the rest of the document as written as a board?
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we leave it whenever possible or as soon as possible? That second sentence.
I think it's semantics. I think either.
Yeah, I think you could say as soon as possible, documentation must be provided.
Or should
Or
be.
Should be provided.
Either way, yeah.
Should be leaves open or not submitting, and must would require it in order for anything to happen.
In that case, I think it should be must, because you're saying as soon as possible, as soon as you're able to do it, it needs to be done.
But then it goes in prior to leave being taken. So I think that's why we were having the discussion in the committee. So if you say as soon as possible or whenever possible, documentation, if you do should be provided, but it's prior to leave being taken. If it's must, then you're back to
Right.
prior
Yeah,
to
I agree
leave being
with that.
taken.
Yeah.
So do we take out the prior to leave being taken? Because,
Must be provided, should be provided,
should be provided.
or must be provided in
And
that case.
It must be provided.
Right, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting to.
Yeah,
It
so
must
it's
be
not.
provided.
Yeah, it's not,
That's
it
not
has to be
optional.
before the leave is taken.
Yeah.
But we have to provide
But it should be,
documentation.
I mean, if at all possible.
How about it must be provided as soon as possible? Second sentence, whenever possible, it should be provided in advance, something like that.
There you go.
That's good.
That's clear. Where's the HR?
Ready to come through in the clutch.
Like to state that again, so in case we have to make a motion, we can get the wording correct.
Sure. Something to the lines of, it must be provided as soon as possible. Whenever possible, provided in advance. And however you make that more of a full sentence, but that's the idea.
So it's
Be two
written now,
sentences.
employees must submit medical documentation of their need for leave. That's already in there. That's there. And then the second sentence will be whenever possible, documentation, or how do we say it, documentation, whenever possible,
As soon as possible.
or as soon as possible,
Documentation should be provided.
medical
Must be
documentation
provided.
should be provided in advance. Whenever possible is should,
Well,
shall.
as soon as possible, documentation must be provided.
Shall be provided.
Shall be provided.
Shall be provided. That's more procedural.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're taking out the prior to leave being taken, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
just putting that at the end,
Yeah.
whenever possible.
Gotcha.
Yeah, whenever
Prior to.
possible, or as soon as possible, documentation shall be provided in advance. And Ms. Manierni's writing that down, so we have it. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, while we're
Yes, ma'am.
waiting on that, may I make a motion
Yes,
that
ma'am.
we approve policy memo A? Those
Okay.
are the ones that have no changes.
Okay, we have a
Second it.
motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Dr. Wells, we have policy.
For policy memo
A.
B.
Yes?
Policy A, you approve, thank you. For memo B, again, you're looking at taking the proposed changes from the committee with the new change in policy memo GCBEA, which what we just worked on.
And Mr. Chair, is this such that we want to take these three separately?
Yeah.
Do you need to take those separate, or do you need,
I guess it depends on discussion.
Depends on what
Depends
y'all
on what the
feel. I
board
think you
wants
could
to
do
do.
either way.
okay? Board, any preference?
I say let's approve them all at one time.
Works for me.
And as such, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve policy memo B with the update to GCBEA as described a moment ago.
Okay, we have a motion, and hopefully that was documented somewhere.
Yes.
I second.
Okay, and we have a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, Dr. Wells,
Thank you.
we're good.
All right. We're up to
Public
item
comment?
4, public comment.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, you and members of the board, we had an email from Mr. Porter. He wanted read as far as public comment, just so y'all are aware of that. Mr. Terry has a copy of that.
Okay, was there any other public comment signed up? Okay, just checking. Okay. Bear with me. I do have my glasses at least tonight, so. So it says, inasmuch as I cannot attend the school, well, excuse me, this is from Jeff Porter, 478 Woody's Lake Road, Madison Heights, Virginia. Inasmuch as I cannot attend this school board, I have the following comments. Commendations for Justin Faulkner and Amherst County, Amherst New Era Progress. I am grateful for the recognition of the role that this local newspaper is playing to promote the advancement and success of the children of Amherst County and the encouragement that such reporting gives all working toward this goal. Number 2, executive summary and the comprehensive plan. I would propose that a place be found in this document by consolidation that this very helpful summary of the 5-year plan for the following wording be added. Quote, please follow us and expect to find the many ways that we, the Amherst County School Board and the school district, parents, and community are working to accomplish the visions and those goals. Hold us accountable, unquote. Number 3, concerning the wording in the literacy training requirements memo, I want to remind the school board and the school district personnel that, quote, the science-based research and the evidence-based research literacy instruction, end quote, all depend on who the scientists are that are involved and what kinds of research they are having done and what evidence they are looking at and are being guided by. Science-based does not mean that these findings are also subject to ongoing research and ongoing scrutiny, and that evidence-based literacy instruction is limited what evidence has been chosen to guide their instruction guidelines. These phrases sound good, but they have their limitations. Thank you for considering my comments. Okay. You have a copy of that, correct? Just making sure. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board? Okay, and seeing none, we'll move forward.
Mr. Chair,
Number
members of
5.
the board, next we have the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Okay, you have a motion? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unopposed.
All
Okay.
right, so, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I would like to take a moment to recognize 3 individuals who have recently been just appointed in the consent agenda. So I would like to recognize Mr. Matt Giles. He was the assistant principal at Amherst Middle School for the past 8 years. Before that, he was a math teacher at Amherst Middle School, and he is now the principal at Amherst Middle School. So, Mr. Giles. You can if you want.
You didn't bring your speech?
I was told I didn't have to.
Surprise.
Just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity and entrusting me in this leadership role. I'm very excited about it, very excited to serve Amherst County in this role. I also just want to thank Mr. Holmes and his mentorship that he's given me over the last 6 years and the way that he's prepared me for this role. And I'm very excited to be able to still continue to work alongside him as his colleague as he continues in principalship at Manelson Middle School as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And since Mr. Giles is now the principal, we had to find a new assistant principal. And so we have Miss Mary Allison Fitzgerald. She's been in the county for 11 years, but has 24 years total experience. And I told her she didn't have to talk if she didn't want to. And next we have Miss Heidi Curd, assistant principal at Elon Elementary School. And again, she's been with us for 12 years and has multiple roles from school counselor to most recently she was overseeing the school's community grant. So I look forward to working with all 3 of these individuals as we move Amherst County forward. So thank you very much. And if y'all want to say something, you can, but you don't have to. Are you good? Okay. All right. Okay. That's all I have on that, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
And I told them they could leave when we were done with this part, so they didn't have to sit here for the whole night. So
Completely
if y'all want to
understand.
leave, you're welcome to. If you want to stay, you're welcome to do that as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Moving
Over
on.
to 6.01, consider approval of proposed revisions to the Amherst County Public Schools Policy Manual. This is the second read for the for the policies that were presented to you last month.
Okay. Board, have you seen the policies? Okay. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I have a few policies that I would like to pull, so I'd like to just maybe briefly mention those to the board and my rationale for that. We have policy AC. That policy is pretty straightforward. It's been recommended that we adopt Amherst County's public schools policy, but then there are some references that need to go to that, and I think there was a code that probably has been transfixed in the numbers, the letters were reverted. So Dr. Wells has mentioned that our attorney will be here in August, and so that might be a good one to just table until he comes and we get some of that clarification. I would also like to consider sending policy GC to the policy committee to work with the superintendent and his staff. This is on a new one-year local eligibility license that I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I read it is that's a 1 year only that the superintendent could approve. A superintendent can also approve a 3-year provisional license, and there's also a provision that you can extend that 1 year. So with all of those possibilities, and I understand the rationale is so that we have some flexibility to hire teachers, that would put us with having teachers in the classroom possibly for 5 years without a Virginia license for teaching. And if it's such that they're, qualified, they're doing well, and it is helping our students, and that's what the superintendent feels is best, then, that might be something that is going to be a good tool in the toolbox. But my concern is that there is no reporting accountability to this policy. And I felt that with having possibility of a teacher in the classroom or up to 5% of our staff in the classroom for 5 years without a license, that might be something that would be viable for the board to be aware of, at least on an annual basis. If that's something that's just one teacher, that's one thing. But if you have 5% year after year, and we've got staffing issues, we probably need to do that, plus letting our community know. So I would like to maybe work with the staff, if you would agree, and talk about that reporting component. The other two policies I would like to pull is BDDH and KD, sort of go hand in hand. It's the same thing. And it talks about student participation in our school board meetings during public session. And that is a new law, and it's been written and placed into the policy suggestion verbatim. And that, to me, is fine. It's a little bit more detailed than I think needs to go into a policy, but I don't object at all to having, those students speaking to us. But what I would like the committee to look at is the policy we have does not include all stakeholders. There's no mentions of teachers or staff. So just to maybe work to make that more equitable, to where we have all of our stakeholders listed, either in a generic form or in, with specificity. And then the other one is policy EB. And it is also a new law that says that students that are non-mobile will be given opportunities, I guess, to exit the building in an emergency with their peers. And that would allow them to participate in the same manner that their peers would. And so that's a good thing. My concern is that I don't want someone to read that as leaving and exiting a building with their peers supersedes any prioritization of safety. So maybe just consider a simple statement, that says, that the student, prioritizing student safety during emergencies or something like that. So it would be very, very simple. It wouldn't take away from anything other than letting, like a principal who's sitting down to create some plans, that they know that this new law doesn't supersede safety in an emergency. You know, if someone's in a wheelchair and they're exiting the building, I don't want them to be the last one out. Or I think there's sometimes people on the second floor and they've got to come down an elevator, you know. So, and I know that we've always had a plan. So, you know, Dr. Wells, you may be able to address that better as we move forward, but
Yes, ma'am.
that was my thought, at least to consider that. Then, if we pulled GCL, I would recommend that we table that until GC on the licensure piece comes back from the committee, if it goes there, because GC puts in the first year local eligibility licensure, and without that policy being approved, we wouldn't be able to approve GCL. And then we just need to make sure we've done FEA correctly. That's all. And pull it because we've already voted on it.
Okay.
So those are my thoughts. If the other board members, you know,
Okay.
have things they would like pulled from the big main packet or some discussion on this, that's fine.
And I would recommend, just for clarity's sake, that we have two different motions. One would be to send GC, BDH/KD, and EB to the policy committee as one, and then to have another motion to pull GCL and FEA for consideration, and AC for consideration tonight.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Was BDD one of the ones that missed? Okay, all right.
Yeah. BDDH.
Okay, well, I was interested in BDD being pulled. It's adding a change to including board members that are participating electronically be allowed to constitute a quorum in order, and I believe, help me understand, you have to have a quorum in order to do voting on specific decisions. And I would just recommend maybe that go to committee, just to have some more discussion about it. Because I think when we're voting, we really do need to have a quorum that's present to do the board business.
So in BDD, the reason for the change was that it expands to allow a school member to participate if they're caring for a family member and need to participate remotely. So permit school board members to participate remotely if they are a caretaker as defined by FOIA, and the school board member must provide care for a person with a disability at the time of the meeting, thereby preventing their members' presence. But you will still have to vote to approve that as a board before you could allow them to participate. So that's the reason for it, because there are some that are caregivers.
Yeah.
And they want to be able to vote if they're the caregiver. That was the reasoning behind that change, just for your information.
Can't just be on vacation and
Right.
participate.
It has to meet the caretaker definition as defined by FOIA in order for it to be.
So we would require a quorum present in order to vote.
It doesn't appear, only, I don't think it is requiring a quorum to vote. Well, it is if a member is a primary caregiver and can't accommodate, I'm presuming, the care. Let's say they had someone who was taking care of their mother who had dementia, and that person was in a car accident on the way there, and there was no one else to stay with the parent who has dementia, so your board member has to stay there. I believe that this is adding that verbiage that allows for that member to participate, but we already have, don't we already have the ability to do that? Because we just, if someone's not able to come, we ask for permission for them to attend electronically. So I don't understand the purpose of adding this. And that's why, I guess, for me, it would be helpful for it to go to committee, so there could be a more in-depth discussion about it. That's just,
I'm
Okay.
not opposed.
Okay.
If you want to pull it, we can pull it. We can discuss it in committee and then maybe give you some clarification so you feel better about it, and y'all can report back to the board on the clarification.
Well, what,
Okay.
I
Mr.
have no-
Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
overriding, I didn't mean to. Go
No,
ahead.
you're fine.
What are we trying to clarify here?
Well, I think I don't want
Or
to speak for
anybody.
put words in Ms. Justice's mouth, but I think there's just confusion as to the reason for BDD and what it actually calls for and what it allows and what it does not allow in
Yeah.
voting in board meetings.
and how is this changing how we already operate? So I just have a lot of questions.
Mr. Chairman, so as it stands now, if, let's say I'm absent for whatever reason, am I allowed as a board member to call in remotely and participate as a voting member of the board?
I thought we were.
We have been.
Okay.
So if that's the case, what's the point of,
I think you can only do that. There's code that now says you can only do it but so many times throughout a year. I think this gives the clarification to that code stating that if you're there as a caretaker, because you cannot be present as a caretaker, I think it kind of, but I'll be glad, like I said, if y'all have questions about it, to get some more clarification on that from VSBA as well as legal counsel.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So, board, any other policy issues that we want to possibly pull?
BDD.
Okay. So can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we pull the following policies to go to the policy committee for review. Policy GC, BDDH, and KD, EB, and BDD.
Okay. Does that cover all of them?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So we have a motion,
Second?
and we have a second. Any other discussion on those? Yes, ma'am?
Was AC included in that?
That's in the next group.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Dr. Wells?
So now I would need a motion to pull AC, GCL, and FEA from discussion or
Okay.
from approval.
Make a motion that we pull GCL, AC, and FEA from discussion for the policy.
Okay, we have a motion
second?
and a second. Any other discussion on those? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, Dr. Wells?
Okay. So now I would ask that you have a motion to approve the remaining.
Everything else?
Everything else.
Okay. Board, can I get a motion?
Motion that we approve the remaining policies.
Okay, we have a motion
Second?
and a second. Any other discussion on these? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Dr. Wells?
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Chair, members of the board.
Yep.
So next we have, and I don't think Justin's aware of this because I haven't told him we were doing this. So, School Board Association has a way for us to nominate local media reps for the media honor roll. And I would like to recommend or nominate Justin Faulkner to the VSBA Media Honor Roll for the way he has contributed to covering our school board meetings and been a positive influence on us. I think, you know, the way he does his, he's not taking sides, he just reports the facts. And so I appreciate that. So through the board's approval, we would like, and again, I would like to make a motion or make a suggestion that we have a resolution to recognize Justin in that manner, but we would need the board to vote and approve.
Okay.
And Justin, thank you for your work.
Anything from the board?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
would move that we adopt and approve the resolution as presented.
Okay, we have a motion
Second?
and a second. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to comment that one of the things I appreciate, and you already said this, Dr. Wells, but Justin is a journalist, and in this time, culturally, very few media sources on whatever side of the spectrum you're on can really be called journalism, because they are usually slanting it one way or another. And I really appreciate your accurate reporting of what's happening and the different viewpoints and then what occurred. So, thank you for being reliable and being a journalist.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to reiterate what Dr. Wells and Mrs. Justice has said. Justin, it's a pleasure to work with you. Thank you for how you handle the news. You do a great job, and you are very kind. And I know that if there are questions, you seek to understand before you report, and I just really appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, board? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. No opposed.
Okay, thank you. So we need some signatures tonight
We'll get
before we
them.
all leave.
Okay.
On that. So Justin, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Next.
6.03 is consider approval of the comprehensive plan one-pager summary document. I think you have that at your place as well as on board docs.
Mm-hmm.
I believe all we need is a consensus. We don't need a vote.
Okay. Okay, board. How do you think it looks?
I think it looks fine. I do appreciate you doing it very much.
Okay.
I know that the community has been asking for something like that, so they don't have to dig in and pull it themselves, and you've encapsulated it well, so thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's short, concise, right to the point, and they hit all the highlights. So, Cliff Notes version.
That is the very much Cliff Notes version. But it covers it. So
That's right.
We thank you. And then at your place also, the comprehensive plan, the booklet that we've developed is at your place as well. It's in a draft format. It's in the back of your packet, and it's in a draft format because we're still finalizing some of the pictures. And some of the students, we want to just make sure we have parental permission on some of the students before we publish it, and maybe add a couple of pictures here and there. It should be at the back of your packet, I believe. So that's just for your viewing. We don't need to discuss tonight, but I just want you to know that's where it is, and you can take a look at it at your convenience.
Will this be like a staple?
It'll be a
like this?
magazine. We just kind of shrunk it down to fit tonight. It'll be more of a magazine-type glossy as we get it published. But this is just, again, it's our pretty much finished draft minus a few picture tweaks here and there.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on.
All right.
7?
Next, we have 7, administrative. Dr. Hoden.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have been very busy. I don't know the last time you have been up Lancer Lane, but the block is going up, and it is going up quickly. The water line is going in, and we have had a lot of progress. So if you are one of the ones that are going to come on the little tour next week, you will see quite a bit of progress. It's very impressive. We showed all the administrators at our administrative training week the progress, and it's really coming on. The field house, we met a little bit of a challenge with that. We had a little backlog with DEQ, but we've got that plan resubmitted. Hopefully we will start on that September. We got delayed about a month on some things with DEQ, so that'll be rolling on. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rokes so he can talk about and show you his slideshow.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Like Dr. Hoden mentioned, they have made significant progress on the high school here in the last month. The last pour of the concrete pad is done. That section we're looking at there is actually the cafeteria section, and so that was the day it was poured. The parking lot paving is complete. If you've been up there, you'll notice one portion, which is the roadway section up there. Initially, when we were, the plan was to just hold off on that because we knew we were going to do the field house. As things have progressed along the way, because we didn't want to destroy or mess up that part of the roadway as they were building the field house, because that's the way they're going to be getting back to the field house. So we decided to hold off on that a little bit. As Dr. Wells and Dr. Foden and I talked a little bit more after that plan was, and they would start paving the lot, we decided to go ahead and put the base pavement down on the road part, so that when football season gets here and we start using that parking lot, as they come out and exit up, going into that parking lot, the road part will be paved instead of having gravel. So they're actually in there this week to complete that portion as well. But the bulk of the lot is done. As Dr. Hood mentioned, masonry work, those guys are throwing block left and right, and every day just making a significant process here. This right here is the rear corner of the building. That's actually where if you remember, the first block was laid on this corner right here. So what you're looking at is, if you're looking up to the right of the picture, you're looking back toward the school. That's the back wall of the addition. And if you're looking at going to the left, that is toward the parking lot side, where the roll-up doors and walk-in doors going to the stage and to the band room are. The picture on the right shows the back of the hallway section, if you will. There'll be two windows right there in the hallway and an exit door, and to the right is the rear entrance of the existing gym hallway back there. More pictures of this. What you're looking at on the left picture is actually the girls' locker room. You can see that the baseball for the additions up to the bottom of the windows there, and also it's sort of hard to see in that picture, but in the upper part of the picture you see a bunch of white PVC conduit. That's the new bathroom. Coming back to the left side of the picture, there'll be a storage room for the concession stands and custodial stuff. And then in the far left corner is the new concession stand. And that block wall is actually going up as we speak for the concession stand now. The right section here is looking from the roof down onto the classroom portion of the addition. And just shows the height and the progress they've been making there. A lot of things, when you ride by, the public rides by, you do not notice what's been going on inside the school this summer. We met in April and May about what can we get done inside the gym area, the coach's office, and those type of things. So when school let out the last day, that Monday morning, I had all of my crew in there and some contractors as well, and we emptied out the lobby, the coach's office, and start progressing through there. And we've actually renovated those areas. Not only renovated, but you see here the pipes on the left hand, on your left screen there. There's they tie into the HVAC system for the chill water and those type of things. So the black pipe you see running up the wall, they had to cut into the existing pipe, come down, bore through the coach's office, and then come on back through the lobby and through the bathrooms and those type of things. And the picture on the right is also showing where they have been insulated now. That was taken this week. So we're putting the coach's office back together so that we can empty the gym out and we can get the gym floor, finished for the year and everything as well. The picture on the left here is actually in the cafeteria. We have taken over the cafeteria this summer as well. You'll see new piping up on the left. Again, some of that piping is for HVAC system, and the large black pipe you see to the right of the screen is a 10-inch pipe. We've had to go through a lot of these sections as well to put in new roof drains for the existing part of the building, because as the new section goes up, a lot of the new sections around the cafeteria and the girls' locker room and the coach's office, when the new addition goes up, it's going to create, if you will, like a swimming pool. The walls in the new addition are taller than what the existing conditions are, so you create a swimming pool. So we have to get the water out of this somehow or another. So by design, that's where we've had to come in a lot this summer to create new holes in the ceiling, put in 10-inch pipes for the roof drains and those type of things, in addition to some of the water that we have to go through the school. The picture on the right is one of the bathrooms on the existing gym. That used to be able to come have access from the gym and or the outside parking lot. And these two bathrooms, there's a men and women's bathroom right there, they will eventually be turned into a family bathroom, if you will, on the new addition side. And on the gym side will actually be storage in those back sides back there as well. As Dr. Hood mentioned, started a couple weeks ago on the water line. This is when they first started digging right at Lancer Lane and South Main Street, and start running the pipe up Lancer Lane there. Actually today, They tied into the building itself and have just about all the pipe run. We have a new fire hydrant out there as well. Right here on the picture on the left is where the students enter to the school. And we've also, this week, we knew last year when we changed the traffic pattern at the high school, it created some pedestrian issues, if you will, when the parents are dropping off and the kids are walking right there, because the handrail on the right is fairly close to the road. At the time, it wasn't a lot we could do with it. So in the last week or so, I was looking at the water line came up there. The three of us talked again. I talked to the contractor. And what we've done yesterday is actually take that rail on the right-hand side, cut off about probably 8 foot of railing, and move that the round part, the end part of the pipe back further. And what we're going to do is that gives us about a 3 foot, 4 foot walkway all the way up the road. So as the parents are dropping off, and a lot of times 3 or 4 cars dropping off at a time, the kids now will have a paved walkway to get in there and then to enter the school. So we eliminate some hazards there as well. And so we'll be finishing that up here next week or so. And as you can see, this is the water lines coming up by the auto shop area. The green pipe that you see, that's a 14-inch drain pipe that's already existing. So these are some of the things that as they're digging, we know that they're there, but they have to work around and get under and get over and those type of things as well. Rooftop view, if you notice the date, this is May the 7th. 20 days later, May the 27th, no block walls or anything yet. Basically, the auditorium pad is poured, and there's nothing on the cafeteria side over there, which is in the upper right-hand section of the picture. First part of June, I think we showed this last time at the last meeting, the block walls starting to come up around the classroom section to the left, nothing to the right. And this was last Monday. Last Monday, I believe I took this picture. You see significant improvement there, and it's doubled in size since this picture was taken as well. Coming up, the parking lots came in last week, so they'll be installing the parking lot lights hopefully next week or so. Continue masonry work, continue water line work. I expect that to be finished in another week to 10 days. Actually, next week, they're going to start boring underneath South Main Street to get to the main water line that runs through town on the southbound side of the road. So they'll start. That's the big hole you see up here next to the Amherst County High School sign. That's what that hole's for. The boring machine will go there and actually bore underneath South Main Street to get to the other side over there. So that'll be going on. We also have the... We've got it lined up today to have the parking lot lined here the next couple of weeks. So, we'll have all that lined up, the lights up for football season, convocation, those type of things. So that parking lot will be completely finished. So anyway, a lot of work inside the school. We got a lot of work to do in the next couple of weeks to get it ready, the inside section, so we can get the cafeteria staff back there, get ready for the kids and those type of things. But all those things are progressing. So anyway, any questions as far as the high school project? A lot of fun things happening.
Board, any questions for Mr. Rhodes?
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
The contractors, how's their safety record? It's been a little bit warm.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have felt the effects last couple weeks. How are they doing?
They're doing great. I think the masonry guys probably have the brunt of it, if you will.
Right.
M&H Masonry, but they're true troopers, if you will. Their supervisors take good care of them, make sure they have their breaks and stay hydrated. The only injury that I'm aware of was actually one of the contractors had an elbow injury. It was not related to heat or anything. He's doing fine. But, from a heat aspect so far, we have not had any injuries or anything like that at all. So they've been doing really well. And like I said, most of them are starting 6:30 in the morning and knocking off 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But they're grinding all day long. So
They're out there in long sleeve shirts, hoods on their helmets are protected. They look very warm, but they roll on through.
yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Board, yes.
Which day are they going to be boring underneath South Main Street?
Starting one day next week. I'm not sure. They were supposed to be in there this week, and they've had to move it around. So as soon as I find out something, I'll kick an email to you.
Yeah, it
and,
sounds like a family field trip.
Yeah.
Come and watch
It's
it.
going to be quite interesting. We call that the rock up at the high school because all the rock and everything. We're hoping that, going on South Main Street is not going to be that bad, but it could get interesting very well.
It did look like a rock quarry where y'all had dug for the water line there. It was,
Yeah, you see all the rocks laying up along Lancer Lane and everything.
They were actually able to finish today to get into the building, and the track operator was so excited.
No rock.
No rock.
No
today, so they could actually dig. So it was amazing.
Good day for them. Any other questions?
So, great presentation. Now that you're out of the ground, that's probably one of the biggest accomplishments in any construction project. So thinking back to prior to that, did we run into any soil issues, as we were kind of prepping the footings and those type of things, or did we?
Yeah, like I said, every time they put a bucket in the ground, literally when they started digging the footers on the backside of the school, they hadn't dug 5 feet. 15 minutes in the ground, they hit rock. So we've had a lot of rock back there. But also, what they've done, and to answer your question, Mr. Childress, yes, they did find some, if you will, quote, quote, unsuitable soil for compaction, those type of things. Right. But most of these were in ditch lines. So what they did, it wasn't in the footers, but what they did was bring in like number 57 stones on covering the pipes, the sewer pipes, just to speed up the process of the construction projects. Is they'll compact on themselves, and like you have unsuitable soil, and if you have that, you have to have another solution. But the other thing they did, and this was occurring, I think, before you came on, I forgot how many hundreds of tons of number 10 stone. It's like a fine dust, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
That they raised that whole rear parking lot roughly about 2 feet, and so that compacts very well. And most of your footers are in that, but some of them they had to go down a little bit deeper for the main part of the building. But yeah, everything. We've had a third party. Contractor Hurt and Profit has been doing all the soil testing, concrete testing, any of those engineering aspects that has to be tested by a third party. They're a contract that we use for third party testing. So everything's been approved by their testers as well. Every time that they pour concrete, every time they pour grout in the walls, for instance, that wall next to the parking lot, I think it's either an 8 or 12 inch block out there, but it's a solid wall from the footers all the way to 30-some feet in the air. It's a solid wall. So.
And they got up high, they actually brought the pump truck in to fill the block.
Right, and they're going to do another one. They're going to actually bring a pump in this afternoon or this week to finish the high sections. So yeah, all that's good.
So the last project I did, we did about 11 feet of that fill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot.
Yeah.
So thinking about all of that, so how are we looking on our allowances for our contract? Are we still in good shape?
Yeah, as far as cost and timing, we're all in good shape. Like I explained earlier in the process that we had that little delay where we had to go back in the stage area and dig that out, and that put us behind a little bit. But the block layers are getting us back on track and everything. So we're in good shape on that. Cost-wise, the same thing. We've made some adjustments along the way. Again, Dr. Wells, and whenever we do that, the three of us get together, make sure we're on the same page, and get with the contractor and everything. So we're watching the figures as well. But there's certain things that as we go through the process, particularly when we get into the existing part of the building, the new section is pretty easy, if you will. You know what you're getting into. As you start peeling back that onion on the existing part of the building, it's like, hey, if we spend a few dollars here, for instance, the rail where the student's in, it's nickel and dime. However, it's an improvement that we made that we think would be better and safer for the students and the vehicles going through there. Same thing for the ditch line between the new parking lot and the existing parking lot. The existing ditch line had been there for years. It had some riprap in it, but it was in poor conditions. So we made a conscious decision. Let's, from a maintenance standpoint, we had the equipment here, we had the contracts here. Let's get it fixed right. And there's no sense in spending all this money and then having a ditch line that looks like 25 cents. So we compare those, make adjustments. We know where we need to be and what needs to happen. We also realize that some adjustments need to be made along the way. So the three of us compare notes and make sure we're on the same page.
If you look at that ditch line, it looks really nice compared to what it is.
Right.
We got some weed eating to do on now since, but of course, Mother Nature's not helping us on grass either, but we're trying to be patient with it.
Yeah. So thinking about that, I guess we're tracking our change orders throughout the process.
Yep. We have, there's some change orders that have been building along the way, and then other things too that we've been working on is, the doors and windows and those type of things too. So we're monitoring our costs as we go every day.
I'd like to, at some point, if we could just kind of see a summary of some of the total, just a brief summary of the change orders and what the added cost, and then maybe tell us the added benefits, like of the changing the railing, and because a lot of people don't really understand the things that you do behind the scenes and the benefits that it brings to the table, like the safety, thinking about for the students, and so I think it would be good for the board to hear that.
And again, it's simple stuff too. It's it's like they had a lot of dirt and rock and things like that along the way, and Mr. Kerr, the athletic director since I've been here the last 3 years, if y'all remember the area behind the weight room, the baseball field back there, it was just an absolute mess, and we've actually looked at over the years, a couple of contractors coming and doing things, and it was expensive. However, working with Virginia Site Works while they were on site, and we said, hey, can you do this for us? And we've been able to go through there. We did a lot of lumber that actually paid for a lot of work we had done, so one hand washed the other type of thing. And by the lumber cost, the money we got out of that paid for adding some dirt and rock back there, extending that area back, cleaning that whole bank up. And now we have an area behind the weight room where Mr. Kerr can store some equipment and those type of things, and it's not being seen by the public. So we're doing a lot of other things outside of the project that has benefited the Amherst County High School property as a whole as well. So it is like I said, I spend probably about 4 or 5 hours roughly a day up there. Meetings, looking at things, little things, you've been through it. Things come up and they need an answer and say, hey. So, yeah, it's part of the ball game. It is what it is. And also, we do our normal stuff. Speaking of which, we just completed painting Elam Elementary School. That was finished on time. Actually finished a couple days early, so that's completed. And we're actually putting in new base around all the floors in the hallways and all the common areas, if you will. We're not doing every classroom, but we made a decision. Here we spent X amount of thousands of dollars to have the school painted. The walls look great, and you looked at it, the baseboard is 40 years old. It doesn't go, and so we took it all up. We got a contractor coming in the next couple of weeks, trying to give the custodians time to get out of the way of the main hallways and stuff, and then he'll come in and put new base in as well.
Don't mess up their waxing.
No, do not make friends when that happens. Any other questions?
Yeah, so, do you have anything else?
I'm done. Thank
Okay. So, you showed the stuff going on in the cafeteria. Is there anything going on that you are afraid might not get done in time for the kids to get there, or cause problems with the kids coming back? Okay.
We have we talk every single day. Ricky Overstreet, the site foreman, we talk every single day about what we need to happen, and involving particularly the plumbers, so they know where we're at, what needs to happen. And so we're some work going on in the girls' locker room. We had some delays because some things in there that we had to take care of, and but Mr. Kerr's aware, Mr. Crawford's aware of it. But as far as the kitchen, the coach's office, those types of things, the new gym, all that's going to be done. We're going to be tight a little bit on the girls' locker room. It's not. I think we're going to be okay, but that's the only area that we may. But we have a contingency plan for that as well. So,
nothing we can't work around if we had to.
No, sir.
Okay.
Everybody is aware when we came into this thing, deadlines, what we need to do, where we need to be at by certain dates, and we're going to be there. One way or the other, we'll be there.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, sir. Moving on.
Next, Dr. Petrone is going to talk about the Horizon Pilot Program.
All right, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. These are some preliminary outcomes from our partnership with Horizon for substance abuse services. We had 53 cases come before the school board this year related to substance abuse, either drugs or alcohol, in our schools. And of those 53, 83% or 44 of them were referred to Horizon for services. So currently we have 23% have already successfully completed. Most of those were first semester cases. We have a 33% who are currently in progress and getting their services, and 12% who are in the process of referrals. And I pulled this like a week ago, and I think a few of them were scheduled for this week and have gotten in. We do have 23% there listed as non-compliant. That is, some of those are students who were like at the very end of the year who still haven't made their appointments, and a few of them are students that we are working with, trying to get them to go, and they have until the 19th to do so. And if they don't, they will be starting the year in an alternative placement. And then we had 5% that did decline services and took the alternative placement instead. So those are our preliminary outcomes there. We saved 38 seats at AEC with this program. All of those kids would have gone, well, all 38 of those kids would have gone to AEC. The ones that are not included there are students who were already at AEC or who had other things going on and got a consequence anyway. But 38 seats were saved for students who really need that smaller environment and to be in those classrooms with those teachers doing, like the small group instruction and catching up on credits and the things that, help us get graduates. We did have 2 students who came back to the board for second visits, but neither of those students had been through Horizon's program. So far, we haven't had any reoffenders, but It's early. Not everybody's even had their services yet, so only time will tell, what the true outcomes are. So that's a preliminary look at where we are right now. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Board, any questions for Dr. Patron? Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Patron, so the benefit that we see right now is we had 38 extra seats that were used by students who needed
Who
those
need them.
special services that wasn't related
Absolutely.
to vaping, which is very positive. That's an immediate benefit.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And no repeat offenders.
Yeah,
Yet.
and no repeat offenders, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, well, I have the next one too, so I'll keep going. Let me just switch my papers. Okay, so you have in front of you for a first read an updated local school wellness policy, and this would replace policy JHCF, which is currently titled Student Wellness. A little background on this, a local school wellness policy is required by federal law, and we have to conduct a triennial audit of that. I mentioned this in the last board meeting. Every 3 years, we have to do an assessment of our policy. Our current policy did not score as well as we would like it to. So we took the model policy that's provided by the Department of Education, and our wellness committee got together and we made a lot of changes so that this policy looks like what we're already doing. And it's a better reflection of what's actually going on in our schools, and also set some goals for the future for us to have a school division that is prioritizing wellness and health of our students and our staff. We did do a lot of editing to the model policy, so feel free to read through this, and if it needs work, we are happy to take those criticisms. Any questions about that?
Board, any questions for Dr. Patron? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Patron.
Thank you.
8.0.
Next, we have Ms. Laconage with Finance.
I am. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this will be the 1 month you do not get a financial report. That's standard during this time of the year because we are closing out our prior fiscal year and doing all the reimbursements and getting all that revenue recognized and paying all the bills and closing out all the POs. So I guess my report today is that we're still in good shape, and we will have a more detailed report coming to you in August. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions from the board? Thank you very much. Moving on, 9.0.
We have instructions, since Dr. Norman cannot be here tonight, Mr. Neighbors will take the charge.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is 2 months in a row you've been hearing from me instead of Dr. Norman. Again, I'm going to do my best to represent her well this evening. A first bullet tonight is a memo detailing our accountability timelines. So as you know, we took quite a few assessments there at the end of the school year. We have some data coming to us. What this memo does is outline the timeline that's been set forth by the state about when that data is going to be collected, analyzed, and then released to us over time. As the board is familiar from years past, there'll be a significant period of embargo where that data will not be available to the public. Some data will be coming in over that time, again, which has been detailed here in the memo. All of that will be changing pretty constantly throughout that time period, all the way through September, when that gets finalized. A couple of dates I wanted to point out to the board. Here at the end of July, there'll be some preliminary accreditation data that will be available through single sign-on. Again, that is something that's going to be changing as some of those assessments are completed late into the summer. Some of those students are still working through that, and data will be changing as those are done. But as we get into September, that's when we'll start to see some of the school quality profiles be updated, data start to populate there, and then sometime in September, which is always a wonderful phrase we love to hear from VDOE, we will get that final data released to the public and available to be discussed openly at that point. If there are any questions about any of these dates, I'd be happy to take those at this time and do my best to answer.
Board, anything for Mr. Neighbors? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, I have an update for you from Dr. Norman in regards to our implementation of the Virginia Literacy Act. A lot of this information the board has received previously. We wanted to kind of pull some pieces together all in one place. The second page is the most important in regards to where we are with implementation of certain pieces. There's a tremendous amount of training with a lot of different groups that has to be completed. Most of that obviously will be done as we get back into the school year. Staff gets back to us in August, and then throughout the school year itself. But there's quite a bit that's already ongoing, specifically with our administrators who have been spending time already getting familiar, not just with the curriculum that's been adopted, but the requirements of the Literacy Act as well. There were some symposiums over the summer that we were able to send some substantial teams to, really representing a lot of different components, a lot of different departments in Amherst County to be able to get that information, bring it back, and facilitate training in the fall with our staff. A lot of teachers were able to go to that and get that experience. So it's always good when we can have that direct knowledge going into the classroom. A couple pieces I wanted to also highlight from that, looking at that training that's going to be rolling out. So the state is going to be providing us some work through Canvas to be able to complete. We've been assured that that is as streamlined as possible for our content teachers, so no more than 2 hours to be able to complete those particular modules once they are released. We are giving an opportunity for all our staff K-12 to participate in that training. Some of those core literacy components, as we all know, literacy is a concern all the way through. We want to make sure all of our teachers are equipped with that knowledge and we have that good consistency of understanding across the board with our staff. So I also wanted to offer on page 3, you'll notice a number of trainings and dates that are listed there. If the board is interested in participating in any of those, you are more than welcome. Ms. Wheeler is ready for your email to let her know when you might be attending. There's a seat restriction on each of those is the reason why she needs to know, but she'd be happy to put you on that list if any of those will fit your schedule. All right, so aside from that, if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you this evening.
Okay. Board, anything for Mr. Neighbors? Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Mr. Terry. Mr. Neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
Help me, the letters training?
Mm-hmm.
Do teachers that have participated in that, does that make it so they don't have to do this?
It does not. So this is kind of a baseline requirement in VLA. So for core content teachers, most other teachers other than reading specialists, there was that minimal amount of training that had to be done. Reading specialists have substantially more, but letters would be in addition to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anything else, board? Yes, ma'am.
Is Mr. Neighbors going to go over the scheduling memo?
Yes, ma'am. That's next.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll hold my question then.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
All right. Well, my final memo this evening is that scheduling memo. So what Dr. Norman wanted to do was pull together information about that required intervention block through VLA, that is K through 8, and detailed here what that looks like at both the elementary and middle levels. As you'll notice, they're trying to create that time, which we've dubbed what I need, that when time, where students can access those specific targeted interventions, those supports they may need, particularly within literacy, but outside of that as well with math, as we know that's a big area of focus for us going into the school year. Wanted to highlight here, and something I actually wanted to pull from our experiences yesterday in leadership, it's been amazing to see the collaboration between our administrators looking at the master schedule. So there's a lot of logistics that went into trying to meet all the requirements for VLA, meet all the requirements for seat time in different content areas, and ensure that we were still providing that flexibility for our instructors to provide students what they need. Ultimately, what we've seen is our elementary admin get together, our middle school admin, as Mr. Giles alluded to earlier, get together and figure out how we create that consistency of experience for students across the division. It's been amazing to watch them collaborate and really figure out what does that look like at their individual schools, but what are those pieces that we know every student is going to need regardless of where they are in Amherst County. So very excited to see how that moves forward as we're moving into next year. Again, as I said, not just an elementary piece, we're also looking at this at the middle school level as well. This is a lot of what we've pulled in previously. Amherst Middle School has actually done quite a bit of this in years past, getting that time to be able to work with students on some of those targeted needs and interventions. Again, if the board has any questions on that, I would be happy to answer those at this time.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Neighbors, when I'm looking at it, elementary grades K through 5, it says that there were 3 options given to each of the schools.
Yes, ma'am.
There's not a lot of specificity other than that there's going to be some intervention provided. Could we get information on how much time will be for the reading, math, history, and science
Yes, ma'am.
instruction? How much intervention time, days? Who's going to be conducting the interventions and what interventions will be used? I would appreciate that very much. So
Yes, ma'am.
a little bit more, I guess, specificity on that. And then for the middle school, I guess basically the same thing. It sounded like to me that they're just going to put in a 50-minute intervention block. Will that shave off some time off of other blocks?
At this point, that's being pulled from what has previously been a split language arts block, so trying to fit all those different pieces in. A lot of that intervention will still rotate around literacy as a primary focus because the requirement of the VLA, but other subject areas will be able to be addressed during that time as well. It really is going to come down to some of those individual student needs. Some of our kiddos will have those reading plans, goals associated with what they're doing there in that time. Others will be able to bring in some of those other need areas.
Will they be utilizing, instructional aids, or will they just be using reading specialists and teachers?
So we'll definitely be leaning on our specialists to assist with that. Part of that is what we're waiting for in the fall in regards to some of those approved intervention curricula that we were talking about last time, those programs that we're bringing in. We also have a lot of that present in our schools right now, which will actually mirror some of the things we're doing at elementary. But we can bring those to you
Right.
next time,
Well,
certainly.
I would like to see that before school starts, if we can. I know that we put in some remediation time last year, and it was a quick response last year, I know,
Yes,
out of what the governor has asked us to do. But I think that there were some concerns that we had instructional aides or non-content specific teachers teaching content they weren't familiar with. So I guess I want to make sure that we're getting the right teachers to our
Yes,
students
ma'am.
of need, and that we're sort of learning from our experience last
Absolutely.
year.
And
So
again,
I'd just like to see some of that detail.
Yes, ma'am. We absolutely want to bring that to you. We'll say that was a heavy point of emphasis the last couple of days at Leadership Conference. We need to make sure that we have our best, most qualified, the folks with that expertise, working with students that need it the most, and really making that a focus of what that time is. Laid a lot of those things out, but most certainly can bring that to you before the school year starts.
I appreciate that. I had a
Absolutely.
couple of teachers that said to me, they have their students and they remediate their students in the past. And then last year, they had to give those students up, and it bothered them because they knew those students and what they needed. And the folks that took them didn't know them and their needs quite as well.
Absolutely.
So I just don't want to see us repeat some of those things. If teachers teaching, they're accountable and they want to remediate those students. I understand there has to be some flexibility, but
Certainly,
I'm
yeah.
hoping that the staff is having some input on that.
Most definitely. I think what I'm most excited about, just speaking for myself, it's far more individualized this time around. So we really do have to drill down to the individual student need and make sure they're getting what they need as opposed to a more global program that we might be putting into place. And I do think we're going to see as a result of that, again, there's some intentional planning along those lines as well, but teachers being able to connect with those students and they know them best. They've been providing that instruction. They're going to have that opportunity to really dig into some of those interventions with them as well.
Oh, good, thanks. I look forward to the details then.
Thank you.
Anything else, board? Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Neighbors. Next.
Next, we have
Human
Mr. Gallagher
Resources.
in Human Resources.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, happy The first thing you have in front of you is our monthly vacancy memo, with about 2 weeks before, a little over 2 weeks before our new teachers arrive, and about a little over a month before school starts. This is our snapshot of kind of where we stand. There are a few updates on that as of today. As you see that top position with assistant principal, those interviews were held today, so we'll get some results there pretty soon. The English teacher position, the elementary teacher position, both have been hired. We have interviews for PE on the 16th. Spanish, there are a few works in progress on how to fill those needs appropriately that we're working diligently on now. Other than that, let's see. We did hire the health assistant as well, down under classified, and we have interviews for instructional assistant next week, but I'm happy to take any questions you might have about the vacancy memo.
Okay. Board, any questions? Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Neighbors.
So you have some other information in front of you. The first one, as I said, our new teachers come to us in a little over 2 weeks, Monday, the 29th of July. We have a week of new teacher orientation for a pretty substantial group there, and I think we've done a good job over the past couple of months of making sure we filled the majority of the vacancies that have been there. So we're excited to have those folks who have chosen Amherst County Public Schools come to us for that week. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the key dates for your attention. That first day, which is Monday, July 29th, we have that opening breakfast, and that's the majority of the events are going to be held at Manellison Library. That particular morning, I would love to have your participation for breakfast on that morning as we get them introduced to board members, senior staff, and some other key essential individuals. Dr. Wells, it may be a video presentation, or are you going to be at that one? I can't remember. That might be a video.
I'll talk
be at
about
that one. I'm just trying to get that straight. So we would like to have you participate in that event. And of course, on Thursday, August 1st, the new teacher luncheon at Sweetbriar Prothrow. That is going to be, as always, a tremendous event to get to know who all of our new teachers are. They'll have their mentors present at this event. I would ask Mr. Terry if you're okay to prepare to do the closing statements at that event. So I would encourage everybody to participate. That's just a wonderful experience. You also have a copy of our employee back to school work week schedule. It's a little bit more than a week. It's August 5th through August 14th. The key dates there to make sure you have on your calendar: convocation, which is Tuesday, August 6th. That will be at the Amherst County High School Gymnasium beginning at 9:30. Certainly be a good idea to get there a little early. Open house for all schools, elementary and secondary, will be Thursday, July 8th from 1 to 7. And as you can see, the freshman orientation there will be from 5 to 6 at the high school. Our transition day, I don't know if this is 5-6 years we've been doing this, but it's been very successful. That will be on Tuesday, August 13th. So pre-K, kindergarten, 6th grade, and 9th grade students will have that opportunity to come into a new setting and get to experience what that is like and get kind of acclimated the day before everything begins, which is the following day, Wednesday, August 14th, which is the first day of school, which is closely approaching. And with that, that's all I have to share. Just want to make sure you have those important dates, and we just encourage you to be present, participate in as much of that as possible.
Okay.
If there aren't any questions, I'll turn things over to Dr. Rose.
Anything else for Mr. Gallagher?
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm going to be reviewing the Professional Development Survey's takeaways. It has the graphs on the front. We received survey responses. It was sent out to all staff members in the month of May, and they were given about 6 weeks to complete the survey. We had 207 responses. Based on this information, it helped us to plan professional development for this return to work week for employees, as well as plans that we are going to be laying out throughout the year. Some of the big highlights of it right now is that our teachers really want relevant PD. That came primarily from our content areas such as CTE, fine arts. Sometimes we need to be more thoughtful about the things that we are planning for them specifically, and those are things that we are really working hard, and I'm working to connect with them specifically about ideas they might have, as well as with Mr. Maddox about what we can do for them that's more intentional. A big one that showed up in a lot of the themes was engagement, how to reach students and motivate them when they seem unmotivated, making sure that they get those skills with classroom management, positive response for what Mrs. Christian Atkins does every year with the classroom management. And we're going to continue to offer that to everyone. They felt they had gotten a lot of growth from professional learning communities, so that will be continued throughout the year. And one of the big takeaways from it was we did a lot of things virtually last year. We have pulled back on that a little bit this year. The teachers really want to see more balance with that and getting their training with face-to-face and more in-person interaction. So we have a better balance of that in response to what the teachers wanted to have. In addition to this, you have in front of you a copy of the Virtual Teacher Workweek catalog. That is similar to what we did last year, but again, we pulled back on a lot of those resources. Some of the ones from last year are offered, but they are optional if teachers want to participate, or any staff member for that member, if they want to engage with them. And some are required by all employees, as you see from the human resources requirement, the Safety and Discipline, the Virginia Literacy Act, cell phone regulations. And they did like some components of Canvas because it's an easy way for them to go back and reference material without having to do a major hunt through folders and email connections and that kind of thing. These courses will be finalized on tomorrow and sent out to principals on Monday, and will be available to staff later on next week. And if you have any questions about the professional development memo or the virtual course catalog, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay. Board, anything? Ms. Rose? Yes, sir. Dr. Rose, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you able to say, to tell me approximately what percentage of PD was for content as a focus, or pedagogy, or classroom management?
I can break that out for you and
That would be
certainly give
awesome.
that to you.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Okay.
You say content, pedagogy, and
And classroom management,
content. Okay,
those three categories separated out if possible.
certainly can.
Thank you, ma'am.
Board, anything else? Dr.
Okay.
Rose?
The last memo is regards to the updated summary of professional staff exit data. I did want to give some background information. I wasn't here for the last meeting, but I think, Mr. Arasi, you had asked for some historical data. So at your place, you have information from 22, 23. And the May one that I gave when I was last here, I had to make a correction on that one. But what you have on board docs is the final submission of the exit data that closed on June 30th. We received responses from 41 leavers, and 27 chose to, 41 were sent and 27 chose to respond. And it's a clear breakdown of what their reasons were. One of the heavier ones was personal reasons and compensation. Some of them were just moving for personal reasons or other jobs that opened up in other divisions, sadly. And I did offer an option this year if anyone wanted to do a face-to-face exit survey. They were offered that opportunity to meet with me personally. 2 individuals did reach out. One was a classified staff member who have yet been able to connect to get a date, and one was a professional staff member. And it gave clarity to some things that were listed inside the exit survey. Each of the survey responses were broken out by schools, and that information has been shared not only with the instructional staff, but individual school principals regarding leavers from their school, so they can give thoughtful consideration about what induction activities, how are they supporting new teachers or even seasoned teachers within their building, and to just be reflective about the practices they are instituting in their building in their leadership position. If I can answer any questions in regards to the exit survey data. And I'm looking for this process to be more consistent. So if there's any information you feel is missing that I can ask for next year, I will be open to include anything you desire.
I guess my only question is, are you or Mr. Gallagher, someone going to follow up with the principals on the plan? Because it seems like That would be a really, and
Yes.
what works for this, this school might not work for that school, but then again, it
Correct.
may, right? So that
Correct.
collaboration.
That was part of what we shared at leadership as well, but trying to give them some time right now to process
Yes.
what's in there. But in the next couple of weeks, I will be asking what is their game plan for switching things around or continuing best practices that they found were successful.
Would it be too much to ask if we had the breakdown per school?
You can have a breakdown per school.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rose.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Just so I can make sure I understand what I'm reading. For example, where it says learning climate, 16 responses. So out of the 27,
Yes.
16 of them chose learning climate as the reason. And of the 16, 68.8% of those said it was because of student discipline, 43.
Yes. Because they could pick more than one response in
They
each
could-
of those.
okay, I was gonna say, 'cause
They
the
could pick
numbers
more
add
than
up
one
to more than
response in each of
100%,
those
okay.
categories. So sometimes they picked multiple, sometimes they picked one, so that's why you see higher percentages in some areas.
Thank you.
Anything else, board?
Thank you for separating that out and giving me the history. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Rose.
You're welcome.
Dr. Wells, moving on.
All right, next we have Superintendent Matters. So first on the list is recognition of one of our board members who has served consecutively for 25 years, Ms. Ligon. She will be receiving the VSBA Quarter Century Award in November as serving for 25 consecutive years on the school board. So that's something to be, she should be recognized for, and it's a great honor. And so in November at the VSBA conference, she will be we found this out, and she was copied on this email, so I know she's aware. But she'll be recognized in November. I just wanted you to be aware, and if at all possible, I think it'd be good if we could be there to support her and as she gets this recognition. So, one, congratulations, Ms. Ligon.
Tell 'em my
Speech?
age.
Oh, no.
Tell 'em
She'll
my
make her
age.
speech in November. But I did want to bring it to everyone's attention tonight. It is a major milestone with anyone to do 25 years, consecutive years on the school board in service. So thank you for your time and service. So next on my list is the construction tour. So next Tuesday, July 16th, we have reached out to the Board of Supervisors and Town Council invited them to do a tour of the construction area at the high school at 5 p.m. We will start in the lecture hall and meet there, and then go and kind of give them a walking tour of the area. Later that evening at 7 p.m., I will be back in front of the Board of Supervisors to discuss the construction grant and how they want to work with the funds of that. So I wanted to give them an idea of actually what it looked like and what our needs were at the high school, so they have a better understanding of why I'm coming to them with these requests. So you're invited to be there as well. So it is at 5 p.m. at the high school on Tuesday, the 16th, and we'll start in the lecture hall and then go from there. So you can let us know, or you can, if you want to let us know, that way we don't start without you if you're coming, and that way we can get there.
Okay.
So
Yes,
just
ma'am.
let us know before then. And I think this week, Aaron, you'll probably send something out to you.
Did you say,
Is it possible to get the information that you're going to be requesting or sharing with them of
Yes.
how that, those 6.7 million will be
Yes, ma'am.
utilized?
Yes, ma'am. I'll have that for you.
Thank you.
Whereas right now, I'm waiting on a couple quotes to come back from some of the contractors, so I can make sure I have some better idea of rough numbers, within $1,000 or so. So I'm waiting on a couple of those to come back, but I can get that to you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
What time was that tour?
5 p.m.
5 o'clock. Okay.
We'll run from 5 to 6. That way they'll have time to get back here and do their meeting. We'll figure about an hour.
Gotcha.
Again, last month, we also presented the health insurance survey to you. And so basically, I think you have it at your place in the survey results. And I just want to, just kind of make sure y'all are on board with this before we move forward. But the majority of staff, as you look at the survey data, was more in favor of making the changes with that. And so 500 employees are enrolled in benefits. 250 responded to the survey. We have had people leave when they did their exit survey information. They left because insurance costs were lower at another neighboring division, and that's one reason they put as a reason for leaving. So I think this would kind of help with that. But again, I wanted just so you to be aware before and make sure y'all are on board with this before we make any changes. This will go into effect for October. Any questions you have, I'd be glad if y'all have any thoughts or.
Are you asking for us to approve this tonight or at the next meeting?
It's not really for approval per se. I just want to make sure y'all are in agreement, that we're all on the same page with this moving forward. And, if y'all say, no, we really don't think you should do this, then we'll have to have further conversations about it. But the consensus of our staff was they prefer to go do something to get the higher premium, lower the premium, but higher deductible was basically what they were saying.
Make it an offer, make it an option for them.
It's not an option, right?
No,
It's
it would
either
be,
or.
they would be an either or. So,
but you could choose which plan you're in,
yes, they can choose the plan.
Right.
But we would, the deductible would go up, but their monthly rates would drop considerably for the majority of staff. And we also added a employee spouse option versus the whole family, because some may just, as opposed to family option, so it's cheaper, just employee spouse and employee family. And Ms. O'Connor, Mr. Gallagher, if y'all want to add to that, feel free.
I just wanted to indicate that we're, in almost every category, we're just significantly non-competitive to the region, and we have actually recently lost individuals who have stated specifically it's the cost of the benefits for neighboring divisions they've left. And if you looked at the comparisons that I think we've provided in the past, it's pretty drastic. So this does provide benefit. It does reduce employee contributions, but it does raise the deductibles moderately. The offset is you are going to save substantially more over the course of a year with lower premiums than you would increase in any way your deductibles. I think that's probably why it was overwhelmingly favored by the respondents to the survey. So my personal perspective is that in order to remain competitive, not only to retain our teachers, but to draw teachers in, we don't have competitive premiums, and that is a big factor for a number of people. Maybe not for everybody who don't understand it, but for a lot of people it is. So just wanted to take those things into consideration.
Mr. Gallagher, of the divisions that they compared us to that were lower on our premiums, was the plan that they were getting comparable to our plan, or was it a higher deductible? Or
in most cases, the plan was comparable. There may have been some situations where ours was somewhat favorable, I think, in the plan that we offer. Well, they may only offer one plan, but the dramatic difference in the rates are what appear to make a significant impact to incoming employees and also current employees. But Mr. Collins, if you want to talk more specifically about the comparisons regarding the actual substance of the plan.
I know when we were comparing it, and we had taken that to the budget retreat as well, because we were looking at the neighboring divisions, and we were working with our consultant, is that we did have a better plan in most cases, but that's not really when necessarily what people are looking at when they're looking at the costs, is what's behind in that plan. And it was sort of hurting us on the recruiting side because of that cost that they were having to pay every month.
And I think that the projected moderate increases in the deductibles per plan, depending on what plan you're on, did not make it so that we have, we don't still have a better plan, in other words. So we continue to have a strong plan even with that change compared to other divisions, because there are other divisions that already have even higher deductibles than that. So.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm all for, doing the survey, and I appreciate that, and giving the employees, what they need with a lower deductible. But I'm confused.
Okay.
So, in my mind, I know that when we looked at it in budget retreat, we looked at our current cost for us as a school division and the current cost for the employee. Well, now the document that I have just says current on it, and it doesn't have a cost for us as a division. So I have nothing to compare this to, like for the employee. How much are they saving? How much are we saving or adding to our cost? And then the next question is what's the difference in the two plans? I don't have any comparative data. I don't know. I'm just sort of confused.
I think, yeah, we provided, have we not provided that? I believe it did.
Do you have your memo? And
Yes.
if you look on the back?
Yeah.
Yes?
It all
It-
says current.
Okay, I understand.
No.
Okay.
So just to clarify, so this change was in no way to benefit the plan. And I know from a financial standpoint, that's what, and I'm always talking about the shortfalls and stuff. This was not a decision to benefit the division and our costs. So our costs would not change. This was entirely making a plan shift that would benefit just the employees. So any change in premiums is just what the employee would be recognizing.
But what's the new one? Because this all says current.
It's an option, right? You want 300 or 1,000, that's the choice, right?
Correct. So the 300 plan went to a 500 deductible plan. The 1,000 went to a 1,500. And then the HSA went from a 3,000 to a 3,500.
Okay, so that's not on here.
Oh, I don't know what was provided there, I don't know why not.
That, yeah, all it says is what's currently being.
Say 500 deductible.
I'd have to look at it.
So, our apologies on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was already on there, because it is on a document that we thought we shared, so. And it does make it much clearer,
We can
and
update
shows the
it.
benefit.
We'll update it and bring it to you in August.
I think you're right, Mr. Chairman, sorry. I think we have seen
Yeah.
the other one.
Yeah, and
Just
so
we
what
don't
what
have the
I,
comparison
Well,
right in front of us.
budget, yeah.
Right, right.
what I would suggest is that we might want to provide that earlier, because we would probably start open enrollment in August. So we would want to have this information prior to going to open enrollment with these changes, so we wanted to make sure
So
everybody was on board with that.
we can probably have it to you tomorrow,
Awesome.
an email.
Thank you.
We have it, it's
I'd like
just,
to
you don't
see
have it.
How much is the employee saving,
Right.
Right.
And it's
But then
pretty
I'd
dramatic,
also
so
like to
that would be
see
good
what
to
does that
see
mean for them for coverage?
in most
You
cases.
know, so
Correct.
So
just some kind of comparison from then to now.
Yes.
What you recommend.
if I understood what was said, the coverage didn't change other than the deductible and the premium. The premium that they're paying went down, their deductible went up,
But the policy's the same?
but the policy is the same.
Policy's the same.
We didn't change the
Yeah.
insurance at all, we
Then,
just.
What's covered and how it's covered
we
did not
just-
change.
We're just trying to find a way to make the monthly payment
Cost down.
less on the employee, but it did require us to raise the deductible to do that.
And in many cases, the reductions are still not going to bring us fully in line with competition, but it's going to get us a lot
Closer.
closer. It's baby steps, but it is substantial savings. If you look at it, we'll give you that comparison. So,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
cost neutral to us. It's not for our savings, but it's to benefit employees, to retain them and to recruit them.
Yeah, unfortunately, all we see is
That's,
the current.
our apologies on
And
that.
this is what's they're
That's
currently paying.
Yes. It's not where it's
Okay.
moving to.
Thank
No.
you.
Okay.
We'll have it for you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next.
Now that we're all confused, let's move on.
Which one are we on? 4?
Leadership conference, I just wanted to update you on that. We had a leadership conference Tuesday, Wednesday. Mr. Neighbors kind of referenced it earlier. But we had a lot of things we had to cover. And there was a lot of information we had to go over regarding the Literacy Act and everything and other changes in the instruction that we have to do. But I just wanted to commend our building administrators on the fact that when I started, my main talk was revisiting Team Amherst and the team approach and the fact that we're all on different levels of the spectrum, right? We have some that are a lot of experience, some that are newer. We all have our own strengths and our own areas of weakness, but working together, we can overcome a lot of those things. And that was kind of my initial talk with them. And seeing them throughout the conference the past couple of days was them actually working together and collaborating, and not just what's best for Elon Elementary or what's best for Amherst Elementary, but them working together. Okay, this is what I think we should do here, and this is what I think we should do here. And they all kind of pulled together and built a cohesive plan as opposed to 6 individual elementary school plans or 2 separate middle school plans. It's all kind of working together. And so each school, even though they're separate schools, I think we're closer to ensuring that they're all getting the same information. It shouldn't, and what we've kind of talked about was that the instruction you receive or what you receive shouldn't matter what school you go to. Shouldn't matter where you live in Amherst County. It should matter, we should all be doing a very common instruction, everybody working towards that same goal and having the same strengths. So by our administrators working together, I think we're able to kind of give a better point of view and better viewpoint, and they're able to take the strength of one administrator and kind of say, this is, again, a good area. This is what we do here. And another one may have a strength here, and they're working together and collaborate on that. It was really good to see them come together the past 2 days. And elementary principals met today up here for, what, 2 hours, 3 hours today, working on that. And they've already developed a group email and account where they can all just sit there and collaborate back and forth. And so we're able to see that and see that grow. I think that's going to pay dividends for us in the long run. So I just want to commend our staff on that and my staff here for putting it all together and having a good 2 days. So appreciate that. Any questions on that?
Board? Okay.
Okay. There was a policy, JFCF, and when we did our policy review, our committee review, it came forward that when we looked at it, we approved it, and I didn't catch it. But in the policy that we approved, it basically said no person may manufacture, sell, distribute, or possess with intent to sell, give, or distribute X, Y, drugs, etc. When we met with the committee, we thought adding the word possess as in addition to with intent to distribute. So if you just possess it, you're still in violation of school board policy, not just to possess with intent to distribute. So we wanted to make sure that was in there. So we have 2 options. I can bring this to you next month as an option, or if you wanted to, y'all could say, let's go with possess and make a motion to approve it. But if you wanted to review it more, we could bring it back to you next month for approval. It's up to you. But I did want to say that, we just wanted to add that word possess because as the policy was adopted, when the last time we did adoption, that possess was not there. So it kind of contradicted kind of what we feel is best practice.
So the one that you have before us has possessed with intent to sell listed twice.
We have, one is no person may possess underlined,
Right.
which is an added, and then manufacture, sell, or distribute, or possess with intent to sell.
Right.
So possess with intent is different than just possession. So I just make sure we know if they just possess it with
Right,
no
but keep
intent to
going.
distribute.
Keep going.
Give or distribute or possess with intent to sell, give or distribute controlled substances.
So you got possess with intent to sell twice.
Okay. Sell or distribute or possess with intent to sell, give or distribute or possess or intent to sell. Okay. Any controlled substance. We can take that one line out. I'm sorry. Didn't catch that. Okay. So if you'd like, I can bring it back to you next month for approval, or y'all could approve tonight. It's totally up to the board.
Sure, I'm fine with approving it tonight. We're just going to put in possess. Possess
Take out the
with
one, yeah.
Yeah.
intent to sell,
One copy of it,
One
yeah, one
Yes.
version of it, yeah.
and then just put possess in there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to take, so it says intent to sell. So we'll take out one of those.
And it keeps going. I think it was just they copied that previous one.
Probably.
Because it keeps on going, says, and controlled substances again.
Yeah. We'll make that clean, but again, if it's your option, if you want to wait till next month to see the clean version, if you want to approve it, knowing it's going to be the clean version, I'm fine there too.
Will of the board? Okay.
I move that we approve the changes to policy JFCF proposed by Dr. Wells.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
I just want some clarity.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are the descriptors that you're going to be using for possessing? No person may possess
That's correct.
That's
yeah.
added.
Yes.
Right.
Manufacture, sell, or distribute, or possess with
With
intent to
intent.
sell, give.
Or distribute.
Yeah, or distribute. That second "or possess with intent to sell, give, or distribute" was in there twice. So
Okay.
that's being struck.
I'm with you now because I see where you've added possess.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
I'm fine with it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Dr. Wells.
Thank you.
Yep.
Again, I'm sorry for that. We just wanted to bring it to your attention tonight because it was something we noticed when we were doing our policy review last month. So out of office, just so you're aware, and back in November, I talked to the chair and vice chair and let them know that I was offered a chance to go with a former teacher to Kodiak, Alaska for a few days. So July 24th to August 2nd, I'll be in Kodiak, Alaska.
All right.
And doing some salmon fishing.
Bring back some good pictures.
Fish fry afterwards?
Maybe a fish fry, maybe some pictures. Yes, definitely pictures. Fish fry, we'll see. I did want you all to know that while I'm gone, though, I'm not sure what cell phone coverage will be like. So if you need me and you don't get immediate response from me, that's probably why. If there's something you need immediate response from, just regarding daily activities, I always ask you reach out to Ms. McNearney or my others and the rest of my staff here if you need an immediate response. Based on if it's operational, obviously or instruction, go to those people. If you need me, again, you can text me. When I get to where I have coverage, I'll respond. But I can't say you might not have immediate response. Depending on where I am.
Got
So I
room
just
for
want you to
one
be aware
more?
of that.
You got room for one more?
We can maybe. I'll talk to Mark May and find out. But Mr. May was one of my teachers when I was in school, and one of my coaches when I was in school, and so he reached out, and I thought it would be good, and y'all approved, my wife approved, so I'm going.
That's the main thing.
Yeah. So on the cell phone regulation, JFC-R2 that I brought to you last month and went into effect July 1, Governor Youngkin kind of stole our thunder a little bit with Executive Order 33. But as I said in my email, I do feel that from all of what I have read, that our regulation will meet the requirements of that. The only question is going to be how the DOE writes their guidance, which will come out August 15th, and we'll look at that. If we need to adjust, we will. There is a call for all superintendents by region to have a call with Dr. Coons, the state superintendent, and so that is going to happen between now and the 15th as well. So we'll get more information from the state. But again, I do believe our current regulation will meet the requirements of the EO, and so we'll see if we need to adjust, tweak. I'll bring that to you for information. But I feel we're going to be covered with what we have in place.
Okay.
Questions?
Thank you, sir. No?
Yes, Dr. Wells.
Okay.
What is our current policy for students and teachers and cell phones?
Policy or regulation?
Yes.
So right now, our current is by school. And so at each school has their own, we don't have a set policy on that. That's why we put the regulation in place, because each school was kind of having their own thing. We had our own guidance. And so like at the high school, it was often out of sight. If it wasn't, then there were repercussions for that. The problem was we were facing it got to a point that in their back pocket may have been out of sight per se, but you couldn't guarantee it was often. They had their earbuds walking down the hall and stuff like that. So it just became very difficult to mandate and to enforce. And I think with our teachers, it became a battle they weren't willing to fight at some point during the year. So for that's why we put it in place. For teachers, they're not expected to be on their cell phones during instructional time. It should be off during instructional time. During planning period, obviously, they can check emails and messages and things like that. Had to make a phone call, they can when they're not in a instructional time over students or being seen with students. So we want to make sure that was clear in the regulation as well, what the expectations were there. So one thing when I met with students throughout the year, and one thing when I talked to students was, we'd be more inclined to follow the the rules per se if I knew if my teachers weren't hitting phone on their desk. So we want to make sure that, if we expect our kids to do it, our staff needs to have certain responsibilities too, which they shouldn't be on their phones during instructional time. Again, during planning period, that's different. So we really wanted to make it universal across the division and have something there, because before it was more each school kind of had their own own rules regarding cell phones, and this way it spelled it out from a division standpoint. I hope that answered your question.
It did, thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
I know I discussed with you today about the possibility, if we're going down the road, to talk about, is there a need to add to one of our policies about instructing students on the addictive behaviors of
Correct.
cell phones and social media and the consequences of? So maybe that's something we can talk about as we're moving along.
Yes, ma'am. I think that would be good to have in there. And maybe something coming from the state on that too eventually, but I think if we can be ahead of the game and put that in there, I will have no problem with that. Because all the research shows it is addictive, especially for our younger ones. And like I said, the message I sent home to parents, it's 7.5 hours a day that teenagers are on their phones, not counting the time they were with us. Not counting time for instruction. That's just extra time they're on their phones just doing whatever. So you take 7.5 hours a day, then you have 7 hours, 8 hours of school a day that we could be using it for instruction. Then you're talking 15, 16 hours of screen time every day. And so I think that's one thing where COVID got us. We got so used to the screen time aspect of it because we kind of had to, and now trying to get them pulled back from that has been a fight.
Right, and some of the pushback I've heard already is you're going to take them off the phones but put them in front of a tablet.
Our goal actually with instruction this year is to reduce the amount of screen time in general. I really want to get more in personalized instruction, face-to-face instruction, not sit on your computer and do this. Canvas pages are great, and Wanda and we were doing all this stuff, and we have these pages set up. They were great, but I think now some teachers rely on that I can do this great Canvas page and put it out there, and my kids can sit there and work on it and not really be teaching. So we are making an emphasis this year on making sure we are teaching. Now, it's a resource, yes, but it shouldn't be your daily go-to for instruction.
I appreciate you for bringing that up.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for being, forward-thinking and getting this done prior to the state going, this is what we're going to do. So we've got something in place, and the state followed along with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. August date reminders. Mr. Gallagher hit this earlier, but New Teacher Week, 29th through the 2nd. Again, we're at Manelson for New Teacher Week. And then August 1st, we're at Sweetbriar College for the lunch. And then Employee Work Week, the 5th to the 13th, and Convocation's August 6th. I do want to say on Convocation that we have a guest speaker coming this year. And I'm usually not big on guest speakers for Convocation, but I heard the speaker, Liz Huntley, speak at a conference earlier this year. And her story just really resonated with me, and I think it will resonate with our staff on what she had to go through. She's an attorney now. She's on the board of directors for Auburn University as well as Alabama and other things like that. She's very big in that area down in Alabama, in that area, but as far as giving back to the community and things of that nature. But her story, and at your place you have her book, More Than a Bird. It's an easy read. Take you a couple hours to read it. But her story coming from a broken home, her father being put in prison, her mother for drug dealing, her mother keeping up the business, so to speak, until her mother became addicted to the drugs. And she had siblings from 3 different fathers, so to speak. So the mother ended up taking her siblings when she was 3, 4, 5 years old to their paternal grandparents, dropped them off, and went home and committed suicide. And that's where her story started. And so from that to becoming an attorney on the board of visitors at these colleges and universities and things like that is a story that resonates. And the reason it all happened was because her teachers took the time to build that relationship with her and got her to where she needed to be. And so I feel that's going to resonate with our staff. It kind of meets that whole thing of the Maslow before balloon, so to speak, meeting the students, but also setting the expectations. Hey, if I do what I'm supposed to do and do well, my teacher's going to praise me. I'm going to do better, and that's what kind of guided her to where she needed to be. So she has a great life story. Ties in a lot of things I think our community and our staff will resonate with them. And so I really want to have her come here to speak for convocations. She'll be our convocation speaker this year. And so you'll hear her speak at convocations. So I just want to put that out for that as well.
Okay.
And that is all I have for now, unless y'all have anything for me.
Board, any questions for Dr. Wells? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now moving on to 12 and 13, let's just say put them together. So committee reports and reports from individual school members. So Mr. Childress, would you like to start us off, please?
Absolutely. I'll keep my comments brief. I missed the June meeting, so I'll give you an update on the STEM Academy. So the STEM Academy, we had our last board meeting in May, at which time we adopted our budget for the STEM Academy. And laid out the schedule for the upcoming year. So our first meeting for the FY25 school year will be September 10th. So that was the last meeting that Amherst was responsible for the STEM board. And I believe it moves to Appomattox will be responsible for running the STEM board next. So I'm excited about all the updates and changes coming for this year. I'm looking forward to attending most of the opening events that I can, and I think we're gonna have a great school year.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Saunders.
I love it. Short and sweet.
Right.
Well, thank you, Justin. I know everybody had said something earlier. As a journalism major, good job. I want to congratulate all the new administrators. I know most of those as teachers, and I know they're going to do a great job, just as good as they did when they were teachers. I love the collaboration. Thank you all for all your hard work during the summer when we were supposed to be like chill, and you guys are nose to the grindstone. Dr. Patron's like, there's no chill time. But thank you all. We appreciate it. Our parents, I know, appreciate it, and I know our students appreciate it. So thank you all. That's it.
Okay. Mr. Rossi.
All right, short and sweet. I love it. I'm going to try to keep it short. Good luck with the fishing. I do want to go one day. Suggestion for the Show Up Amherst initiative. I thought about, as I was driving through 29 corridor and seeing the little signs on 29 with all the beautiful flowers and whatnot. And I've talked to Mr. Oakes about, getting money from places and maybe painting a bathroom, volunteering to paint a bathroom. He says, well, what if they don't know how to paint? And so what if Amherst County took it to where we would figure out the cost of doing a hallway or a bathroom upgrade or refresh, and say, So Business sponsored by does this hallway, or Glad, this hallway brought to you by Glad Manufacturing, or this hallway bought, Lee and Moss, or something like that. Local businesses that could donate, and they're generically, not company logo, but a generic logo, all look the same, kind of blend in, and do the hallways that way. I don't know if that's something that the board or the school would be interested in trying to implement with the cost, what it would cost to do it. And, First Baptist Church, stuff, something like that, where we could have something where the community gets involved in making the schools a little more aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if that's something that has ever been considered before, getting the community involved.
In the past, we've had some businesses sponsor like gardens and stuff at the schools on the outside. The problem is they don't maintain them, so we do. So,
Right.
But yeah, we have done it in the past. But I think it'd be worth a conversation worth having, and maybe with Lori and your other job, we could have those conversations.
I just think it would may even help out our budget, but it would get the community involved, stakeholders and whomever. And I think maybe it would.
Worth a conversation.
Yeah, I think it is. selling advertisement space, I guess, but not really.
That's right.
So we'll talk about it, I guess, then.
Okay,
That
anything
was
else?
just my suggestion, yes.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Ms. Justice?
Well, Gov School is taking the summer off as far as meetings. So I don't really have anything to report. I am very encouraged by just participating in the policy committee. It gave the open environment to have discussion and crosstalk that wasn't during the board time. So we saved an hour and a half of policy discussion. So that was of great benefit. And hopefully the board feels that too. Very exciting to see DRAX coming to the schools. The opportunity for students to have access to a trained, safe animal is really not measurable. I can't tell which studies, but many studies have shown that when you can bring a therapy dog or a trained service animal this way into the environment with children, elderly, that the emotional development, the mental stability, the atmosphere really improves and becomes a little less institutional and more community. So I'm really excited to see that. And I'm very pleased, Dr. Wells, over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of conversation about the role of screens in the schools and the impact on instruction, the impact on student behavior. And I just really appreciate how you had that vision before it was popular, and you have been working towards it, and you've accomplished it. It hasn't been just talk. So I really, really appreciate your leadership of that. I'm very disappointed I won't be at the new teacher events. I'm going to be traveling to some national parks, so I won't be able to attend, but I really look forward to hearing about it. In the past, it's just such a monumental opportunity to connect with the new teachers and the administrators, and in many respects is kind of an old world community experience in the schools that not many places have that opportunity, and I'm really thankful for it at Amherst. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Ligon?
Well, I'm echoing everything that everyone has said. I'm not ready to say the summer's over yet. So I'm just doing this little preliminary work here. I haven't had vacation yet. But Justin, I have you on my contact list on my phone, so everything that's been said is awesome, and we appreciate as Ms. Justice said, and some others, your journalism has been always good for the school system. And we welcome all the new principals and assistant principals change as we go around to begin a new year. So Dr. Wells and your staff, we appreciate all the interviews, getting everybody ready for us. And I haven't had any meetings. Laurel has not met yet, have they? I don't think so. It's coming around the corner, though. But just because they haven't been having meetings, there's been articles in the papers and articles on TV, just a lot going on with schools. Lynchburg News, WSET is always showing some highlights of something that's going on. And we'll just be in anticipation on how policies go. I agree getting out there on the front row of this cell phone thing. And I'm on the fence right now, I'm gonna be honest, with not on the fence about the policy, but I'm on the fence to see if we can, if our parents and our students will help us to make this a successful policy and not have 5 or 6 people coming to us every discipline about cell phone violation. I'm saying that out right now for everybody's listening. We are putting a policy in effect not to have more people need to come in, because I would take your cell phone. But anyway, I'm getting excited about that. And of course, the dog and that adventure too would be exciting. So new things in Amherst, and I won't go on and on, but we're looking forward to August. Look like that's when things are going to heat up again. And I have seen the construction. I took my grandson up a couple of times for some football practices, and everything is looking good. When you go through there, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm like, wow, what happened up here? It's like a metropolis, And, but I'm just as excited. Thank you all for doing such a hard job on that hard work. So with that said, and I love my ball stuff. Next, I want my parking pass. So we're ready to go.
We had that conversation
I know.
earlier today.
Just a few more times, ready to go. Thank you, Mr. Terry.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Thompson?
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for all the work that you did for tonight. There was a lot of data there, and I appreciate that. Summer is supposed to be time to relax, but you guys are working really hard, so thank you for doing that. Justin, again, congratulations. We appreciate you. Welcome the new administrators that they're coming. I know that they're all qualified and will do a dynamic job this year. Looking forward to seeing Drex in the school. And Ms. Ligon, I'd like to say congratulations to you again.
Thank y'all. That's part of y'all. I'm part of y'all. So. I think y'all know me by now, that everything that I have and will do is a team effort, so I don't want to cry. I already got some other things in my mind, but thank you.
But thank you. I enjoy working with you, and all the time that you've committed. It's just a wonderful legacy for who you are. Also, I'd like to just say, this year with the cell phone policy, it's an opportunity for us to really communicate to our staff, to our parents, to our children, that we value quality instructional time. And I know that you do. I know that we do, but it's a way that we can say it and make that a priority this year, engagement and quality instructional time. So thank you for your work.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, it was great meeting the new principals and vice principal and assistant principals, but Ms. Kelly Holmes was not here tonight, so I'd like to give a shout out to him for stepping up and being part of the Manellison family for us. Justin, there again, thanks for, you're always here. Sometimes we look out and WSET's here or Fox is here, but you are always here, so thank you very much. And seeing Drac come and do his presentation for us, I hope some of the people were watching and see what Drac is going to be doing. That between that and the new cell phone policy, I really hope there's more of a deterrent instead of an increase in Wednesday afternoon meetings or Thursday afternoon meetings.
Amen.
But well, I want people to know we're putting this in here for the benefit of our students. So we need the help of our parents and our students to get it right. So please step up and do the right thing. It's there for a reason. So and thanks for the reports. You guys, you always provide us more than we can handle. But it's dang it. Sorry, Ms. Ligon. Summer's over.
No.
So, all right, thanks, everybody. Okay.
And so, closed session. So pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A4 of the Code of Virginia, it is recommended the board convene a closed meeting for the following: A4, personnel matters not related to public business.
Okay. Board, you got a motion to go into closed session?
So much.